My name's Erik Hystad, and I'm a brewer with Blackfoot River Brewing Company here in Helena, Montana. I didn't start off as a brewer. I went to school and studied math and physics education at Montana State University and was a teacher for 4 years before I realized that wasn't really a good fit for me. I have always had an enthusiasm for learning, and I really like working with young people, so when I was in college, I changed majors a couple of times before choosing teaching. And really hoped that through education I'd be able to share my passion for learning and math and science with young people, and that would be a really fulfilling way to spend my career. And I really clung on to that hope for 4 years before I realized it just wasn't a good fit. I tried lots of different things to remedy that. I changed grade levels, I changed subjects, I went from teaching math to science. I even changed schools and moved to Colorado and got a teaching job at a charter school. And none of that really mattered. It was kind of a hard thing to swallow because there's all these graduate school programs dedicated to getting other professionals to get into education. And so I really felt like I was swimming against the current a little bit. When I was at that charter school in Greeley, I kind of hit my tipping point and decided that I was going to take a hiatus for education. I wasn't ready to totally get out of teaching altogether, but I wanted to take a break to see if I missed it. And I was living in Fort Collins at the time. And my wife was going to graduate school at Colorado State, and we love going to breweries together. It's one of the things that we kind of bonded over when we first started dating. In fact, every time we travel together, we always time our stops for gas at towns that have little breweries so we can stop and share a flight and buy a growler. Steph started our growler collection when she was in AmeriCorps Vista here in Montana, and now we have over 100 growlers boxed up in our garage. So it's quite the collection. In any case, one of the breweries in Fort Collins that we went to a lot, and this is one of the original craft breweries, is New Belgium Brewing Company. They were a big sponsor for Steph's graduate program, and one of their company mottos is follow your folly. And when I was deciding what I wanted to do next, I thought a lot about that. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted it to be in no way related to education, and that it was going to be a bit of a folly. You know, something that I'd always wanted to do, but I was either too afraid to try it or I didn't even know where to begin. So I talked to a couple of military recruiters to see if that was going to be a good fit. I went and looked at apprenticeship programs to get into different trades, and I even went to truck driving school over spring break, my last year of teaching, to get my commercial driver's license. And none of those seemed all that great. So like I said, I wanted to follow my folly. So taking a few steps back, my brother-in-law Tom, who lives in Seattle, taught me how to homebrew when I was early college. And every time he and I get together, we always have a couple of craft beers or maybe some of our own homebrew beer. And we always dreamed about opening our own brewery. So we'd sit down and we'd talk about taproom layouts and flagship styles, or, you know, we even came up with our own brewery name. It was going to be called Eighth Day Breweries, because on the 8th day, man made beer. And it was good. So in any case, I figured brewing beer was as good a folly as any. And so I decided I was going to go to brewing school and become a professional brewer. So I called up UC Davis and looked to get into their brewing program, only to find out there was a 3-year wait list. So I fell back on my other plan and decided I was going to move to the Balkan oil fields and drive truck and make money while I waited to go become a brewer. But before I moved out there, I came back to Helena and was having a beer with my wife and some friends at Blackfoot and noticed a sign on the popcorn machine that said, wanted assistant brewer. So we both got really excited, Steph especially. She immediately introduced me to Tim, the head brewer there, and insisted that I apply. I applied and got the job. But it was still a long road from where I'm at today. Anybody that's ever brewed beer, whether it's homebrew or professionally, know that brewing is about 95% cleaning and sanitizing. And that was definitely 100% of my job. I started off just cleaning kegs and tanks and occasionally kegging out some beer. It was part-time, and it didn't pay nearly as much as teaching did. So I had to take a second job in order to make ends meet. I started waiting tables and bartending. And for the next 2.5 years, I had to keep that second job in order to make it. I'd work 60 to 70 hours a week between the two jobs, and usually only get about 1 or 2 days off per month. It was a pretty rough time. But on the other side of things, at the Blackfoot, Like the more I was there, the more I learned. I started learning how to brew and just really dove into learning more about fermentation and brewing. I'd go to conferences, I'd read things, I'd look at videos online, anything I could do. And the more I learned, the more I really began to love that job. So after a couple of years, I was promoted to brewer and was able to quit my second job, waiting tables and bartending, and now cleaning is only 90% of my job. Not every day is perfect at the Blackfoot, but I really, really love it. I work longer hours for less pay with worse benefits than I ever did as a teacher, but I am infinitely happier. As a physics and math nerd, the creative process has always kind of eluded me. I can't write or sing or dance or paint or draw unless there's a formula that tells me how to do it. So brewing is kind of the perfect marriage of art and science. There's this foundation of fermentation that provides the framework for me to be creative in designing new recipes for new beers. There's over 100 different recognized beer styles, literally hundreds of varieties of yeast and bacteria and malt and hops, which provides me with an endless opportunity to learn, to be creative, and to grow. Also, I still get to use my teaching skills as a brewer. One of my favorite parts of my job is giving tours to people at the production facility and teaching them how we brew our beer at the Blackfoot. I also love working brewfests, talking with people about what their favorite beers are, how they brew them, how we do them, and just bouncing ideas. I can talk for hours about beer. My path to becoming a brewer was kind of a long and difficult one that took a lot of commitment. When I was working those long, long days, it would have been really easy for me to just kind of fall back to the familiarity and apply for a teaching job. And I actually did that twice. But thankfully, I withdrew from consideration at the last moment and decided to stay the difficult course. And I was able to do that because I was following a dream. I was following my folly. Changing careers can be a difficult and daunting thing to confront, but if you're following your folly, it makes it a lot easier. Thank you.